Punisher One Last Kill is directed by Leonardo Marcus Green. Now, at the beginning of this miniseries, when I sat down to watch it, there was a disclaimer saying that it is intended for mature audiences only and viewers' discretion is advised. They weren't kidding around now, were they? Now, this miniseries basically gives us a glimpse into the life of the Punisher, into the life of Frank Castle. Now, let me start off with the positives that I found with this miniseries. Firstly, they delved into psychological aspects of the Punisher. I think that is very important to understand the character. He has these vivid hallucinations regarding his family, who he misses dearly, and also about his men who he served when he was in the army. So all these play a very important role in shaping him, shaping his psychology, in influencing his decisions, his ideology, basically how he acts, his emotions, everything. So it has a huge consequence for him as a person. And it really depicts the real struggles with PTSD and other similar psychological issues. And I think they delved into it really well. It is honestly quite scary and quite disturbing that Frank Castle comes from a very, very dark place, and that is why he is what he is. Now, this is where I must give kudos to John Brenthal. His portrayal of the Punisher is just next level. He has little to work with and he has little space to be in this miniseries. However, he's given a very dedicated performance. But I must say this though, his portrayal of the Punisher is not really my most favorite. For me, Thomas Jane will always be the most definitive Punisher because I really like that he embodied the character to perfection. But however, John Brenthal's portrayal is more cerebral. It's a more cerebral interpretation. He not only shows Frank Castle, not only shows his brutality, his determination to end crime at all costs. No, it also shows Frank Castle. It also shows when he's just sitting down in his empty apartment, what he goes through, his personality, his psychological profile, everything. So this miniseries serves as a good addition to basically the other seasons where there's a character study of the Frank Castle. It really shows him as a whole, and this really makes it more compelling and makes it one of the most better portrayals out there. So this is something the other Punishers did not do because, understandably, they had limited exposure. They just had one movie or so to portray each version of the character. But in this case, he has his own TV shows. He has his seasons. He was with Daredevil, and now this. So there's a lot more exposure to his character, and that really played to John Brenthal's advantage and also lent well to his acting abilities. Also, this time around, there's more personal stakes. For instance, when he is just walking, he's come across an old woman. This woman basically, I really like the twist they added here. When she comes across him, she appears like a very normal woman who is disabled. She's explaining that she's in the same position as he is, like she has lost everything. You feel like she's asking for help. And it's understandable because everyone knows Frank Castle and what he's capable of. He's a very capable vigilante. So you would want to enlist his help if you really want someone gone or you really want to solve your problems. However, it turns out that she wanted him gone. She didn't want his help. She wanted him gone because he did a very Punisher thing to her in the past. He like wiped out her entire family, and now she wants revenge. She wants him gone, and she gave him a warning. So I really like this twist here. I mean, did not see this coming. But of course, Frank Castle remains unfazed. I mean, he doesn't care. I mean, he has dealt with thugs like this before. So in this in this miniseries, it's more of a personal stake than rather his time as a vigilante. So I like that they made things more closer to him this time. And now, of course, the one we all been waiting for, the brutality, the fight. It was crazy, guys. In fact, I would say, despite seeing him in other seasons, I was not ready for this. It was so sudden, so brutal. He suddenly switches on to be the Punisher. He was Frank Castle all this time, but now he's suddenly the Punisher. He goes around. And the kind of choreography and the way this fight scene is designed, it is just one long montage. You don't see any gaps. You don't see there's any, he doesn't just pause for a minute. He doesn't take any deep breaths. No. He basically is just on one whole rampage. It is very similar to John Wick. John Wick's time as as a hitman. How he goes just stares through other hitmen, other victims, if I can say so. He uses Punisher generally basically mimics that. It's a choreography is very similar to John Wick. He takes any object he can, whether it's a gun, whether it's a bat, whether it's a knife, whatever. He just tears through them relentlessly and without any remorse or mercy. I think the John Wick style of fighting really lends well to the Punisher, especially John Brenthal's version of the Punisher, where he's just brutal and animalistic. Heck, he even uses a pen in one of the scenes to kill a person. Yeah, how much more John Wick can you get other than that? I really like that they adopted this style of choreography. However, there were some instances of bad CGI, especially in one scene, which they could have refined on, or probably used a stunt double, probably to do that scene. But the bad CGI, or rather the shoddy CGI, was pretty obvious, and so that was one big turn off for me, honestly. Other than that, the fight scenes were brutal and awesome. However, for me, the most favorite scene, when it comes to the fight scenes, the most favorite scene would be the very last one. Yeah, where he takes out a thug. Now he's back as a Punisher. Now, if finally he knows he has more work to do, he cannot just retire. He's back. However, this scene is the most satisfying to me because it was well deserved. Yes, this thug had it coming. It was not long before he met this kind of an end. So it was pretty like you felt like he needed it. It brought the whole miniseries to a full circle. It truly was the one last kill. But of course, the as awesome as this miniseries is, I did not fully like it because there were some negatives. There were some things that genuinely left me a bit dissatisfied. I really like to delve into those as well. Firstly, what is the point of this miniseries, or should I say, this short? What is the point of this? Because this is not the first time that the Punisher is getting a shot. Even with Thomas Jane's version, we had this Dirty Laundry, which was very, very good. But that shot actually made sense. It actually had a place. For instance, in the movie, we see his journey to becoming the Punisher. Then he gets his own shot. So the Dirty Laundry was a natural progression. It felt organic. But in this case, it just feels like another episode in a season. Like, what was the point of this shot? Was it just to bring Frank back into the light, or is it meant to lead into something bigger, like for example his own second season, or hopefully a movie? I mean, he's appearing in Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'm not sure in what capacity, but he might have a significant capacity, and I can't wait to see what they do with him. But is he going to have his own movie? And I really hope he does. So if it's something like that, then this miniseries makes sense. Other than that, I don't see any point in making this miniseries. So it feels a bit pointless and a bit misplaced. Other than that, it was all right. And also, like, it didn't give us anything special. I mean, what was special about this miniseries? What did it show about the Punisher that we did not already know? He's brutal. He does not show any mercy to his criminals. He comes from a bad psychological place, a very disturbing place. We knew all this already. But what is the even though as intense as it was, that's all it gave us, the intensity. But apart from that, it didn't give us anything special, nothing that we haven't seen before. So I wouldn't call it a special, really. It's just another addition to the Punisher's portrayal in these seasons. That's it. And also, I can't help but think, no matter how much they show John Bernthal's Punisher, no matter how many scenes he gets, he always feels like a second fiddle to me. And the miniseries didn't do anything to elevate him. He always, because let's face it, when he's in Daredevil season, he always is overshadowed by Daredevil himself. You focus more on Daredevil than the Punisher. Yes, he does intervene in some places and he does have his own season, but he still feels like a second fiddle. He does not feel like he's his own. He really is owning his space. I think this and this miniseries did nothing for me, honestly. There are so many iconic storylines for the Punisher they can adopt, such as the Ruka's War Zone, or probably the Valley's Forge, or the Return to Big Nothing, or there's another very popular story like Welcome Back Frank. These are some of the things they can really adopt. There are many more storylines they can really adopt and bring it to the media, which can be really, really interesting and really give Punisher his own way, his own identity. But I don't know, they are yet to do that. Probably bring back some of his iconic villains, or probably having crossover with other villains or superheroes. They got to do something more interesting with Brenthal's Punisher. Otherwise, it's just going to remain the same grunting vigilante who just keeps going on the streets. We want more than that. At least I want more than that. I'm not sure how you guys felt about this, but this is one of my major gripes here. This mini-series didn't do anything to elevate him. And also, don't you think it was a bit too short even for a mini-series? I mean, can't you make it at least a little bit more than 100 minutes? Because 45 to 48 minutes is just too short to show anything, honestly. I mean, they did well with whatever space they're given, with whatever they had, the materials. The writing was all right, but I feel it was way too short. Maybe 100 minutes or more would have been better. And it would have given more room to show something different about the Punisher. And also, he doesn't wear his costume. I mean, look, he has a very cool design right there. He has one of the best logos ever. He barely wears the Punisher logo. He always wears a casual outfit. I mean, doesn't that bother you? I mean, come on, he's a Punisher. He's different. He is literally one-man army. He should have a logo that symbolizes him, that instills fear into other people. But he doesn't wear the logo much, except in one scene in this film. I don't know. I don't think. I don't know. It didn't feel like the Punisher to me. I hope he wears the logo more in the future, because that is truly, it truly brings the character into the light. You truly feel the terror. And yes, one more positive I forgot to mention earlier is there is no crossover from the other characters, and that's a very good thing. You got to focus on the Punisher, on his life. You don't get any crossovers from Daredevil. You don't get any crossovers from Spider-Man. There's no other elements from other places, no Kingpin. That's a very good thing because we've seen enough of them. Now we want only him. And I like that they focus solely on him and the writing was focused more on his trajectory. And I really like that. Of course, there's only one character who is very popular in the in Daredevil series who did come as a temporary, like in a more temporary way. But that's it. That's about it. Other than that, it's just the Punisher and the Punisher only, and that's a very good thing. Now, overall, guys, the miniseries, was it good? Yes. Was it as expected? A little more intense and brutal than I expected, and that's a very good thing. However, it is nothing new. Yeah, I did not feel there was. I was not awestruck exactly. It was way too short. It's like felt like I barely saw anything. So they could have done a little more, but the miniseries was all right. I mean, it is very comparable to Dirty Laundry, which came earlier. Is it any better than that? I would say it is slightly better because, like I said, Brenthal's character is more well developed. You've seen him better. You've seen him in the flesh. You've seen more of him. So this miniseries definitely adds more impact. So it is definitely good. But here's the thing: you like Brenthal's version of the Punisher, you're gonna like this miniseries. I have no doubt about that. Even though you may have your gripes or any personal issues with this, that's fine. But if you like Brenthal, you will like this miniseries. That's all I can say about this. So, what do you guys think? Have you seen it? Do let me know in the comments below. Who's your favorite Punisher? Do let me know that. And please do consider liking and subscribing. It would mean a lot to me. And let's embrace cinema together. Bye.